the American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier.
Heard on great radio stations all across America. It's the National Defense with Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry.
The National Defense is made possible by Ford. Go further. By the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. By VSP. For more information on how VSP can help you and your corrective vision needs, visit VSP.com. By Morgan Stanley. Discover how they can help you achieve your long-term financial goals at morganstanley.com. By the Wounded Warrior Project. Serving those who've sacrificed for over 15 years. Online at woundedwarriorproject.org. By WD-40 Company. Wherever there's a job to be done, WD-40 brand offers solutions to help you live life hands-on. By Farmers Insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com. And by Gorilla Glue, makers of Gorilla Tape for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
This is the National Defense. Randy Miller along with Jerry Newberry. As always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving on active duty in the Guard and Reserves. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
And the host of everything, Mario Lopez, is on the show with us. Mario, hey there.
How are you, sir?
Good, man. Doing real good. Thank you for taking the time this morning. You are the host of everything, right? I mean, I know you're the host of Extra, but it seems like you host everything that's on TV.
Oh, that's funny. Well, thank you. I mean, I like being busy and been pretty blessed to stay busy and be out there. So, I'll try to keep it up.
Hey, I just saw you tweeted something out that you were at the WWE. Are you a big wrestling fan?
My kids are. I was a huge fan growing up. I'm kind of getting to be a big fan again. And so we went to WrestleMania earlier actually in the year. And then it was Survivor Series last night. So, yeah, every time Raw or SmackDown comes into town, we go check it out. So it's a lot of fun. It's live theater.
Exactly. I thought that was your kids. They were having a blast.
Yeah, they were having a good time. They liked it.
That's pretty cool. My daughter lives in L.A., and she likes the wrestling with the what's it called? It's like a specialty kind of Hispanic wrestling. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the lucha libre.
Yeah. She loves that.
Yeah, it's fun.
She said you can't even get a ticket, though. She said, it's just like it's always sold out.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy.
That's pretty wild.
It's pretty crazy. It's popular.
That's fun. So a couple things. First of all, since our audience is mainly veterans and active duty military, can you tell me what kind of experiences that you've had with some meeting some of these folks? And have you ever been on a USO tour?
I've visited a lot of bases around the country in San Antonio and Seattle, all over the place, and I have a few cousins that have in the Army and the Marines that have been servicemen. So I have a great deal of respect and admiration, and always happy to support whenever I can.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. We've been very lucky and very blessed to have some great celebrities like yourself call in and support the troops. We got a chance to talk to Tom Hanks the other day. Have you ever interviewed Tom Hanks?
Yeah, real heck of a nice guy. And,
oh, my gosh.
Great ones, yeah.
We couldn't get him off the phone. I mean, seriously, 45 minutes with Tom Hanks.
Wow.
And he was just outstanding. One of the seems like just a very grounded, very humble person like you would expect him to be.
Yeah, the bigger the stars, usually they tend to be pretty nice. Maybe that has a great deal to do with their success. Yeah. And he's one of them.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. The bigger they are, the nicer they are. Garth Brooks is the same way. Dolly Parton. I mean, we've had some really good folks on the program. But now,
yeah, you had some great folks.
That's been your specialty for a long time is interviewing and talking to stars. Who else is out there in your opinion, is one of the best interviews?
Well, I mean, doing the show for now over 10 years, I've gotten to check off all the names on my bucket list.
Sure.
And I mean, every pretty much big star you can think of, from Tom Hanks, who you mentioned, to George Clooney, Denzel Washington, Julia Roberts.
Wow.
They've all been very, very cool with me, which I appreciate. Clint Eastwood, legend. He was the last name there that I got to scratch off, so that was cool.
Wow. Oh, I bet he was great.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
You know, when you talk to these celebrities, if they need a place to call and support the troops, please give them our number.
You got it.
It'd be fantastic. So what else? I got to tell you something else and my wife today, when I told her that we were going to talk, she's like, please tell him that we love Pet Stars.
That's funny.
I mean.
Yeah, that was a show I did for Animal Planet for a few years.
Yeah.
And you could tell her we're trying to bring it back in this capacity. So that
is that right?
To reboot it, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it. That
was a great show, and I read somewhere that you did that show and you had an allergy to cats.
Yeah, really bad cats.
Is that right?
There weren't too many cats.
Yeah.
Cats are pretty lazy, but there weren't too many.
Now, do you have animals? Do you have pets?
I do. I have a dog.
What kind of dog?
French bulldog.
Oh, wow. A Frenchie.
Yeah.
Those are great dogs.
Frenchie.
Yeah.
Great dog.
We've got, what's your dog's name?
Julio.
I love it. That's great. We didn't know much about pit bull mixes, but we rescued one about 8 years ago, and we just got another one as a puppy. And those dogs, man, they get a bad rap. They're probably the most loyal, smart, sweet dogs you can get.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Yeah, no, I know. You're right about them getting a bad rap. They are, and they appreciate when they get adopted. They can tell.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there to be adopted. So if you get a chance, man, I mean, don't pass those dogs up. A lot of people just with their reputation, they pass those dogs up. But if you give them a chance, right. They're like, they know you're taking care of them.
Yep, exactly.
Well, so what else are you doing now? So you're doing extra. You're doing a radio show, right?
That's right. I got a nationally syndicated radio show on iHeart called On with Mario. Doing extra for 10 years now.
Wow.
And got some other projects planned right now at Netflix. I can't talk about at the moment, but some fun stuff coming up.
That's cool.
Also do some boxing broadcasting. So,
wow.
Just staying real busy.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. How do you have time to be on the phone with us right now? I mean, you got your hands full with everything.
Yeah, no. Again, just try to stay as busy as I can with the family and work. Don't leave much time for anything else. But that's why I try to work so hard. So,
well, little ones. Well, Mario, I got to tell you, just for you coming on the program, it means the world to our listeners. And to check in with you, and love to do it again sometime. And please let us know if you want to promote something else or you want to come on. We'd love to have you back on.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And good luck with your radio show. When is it on?
Well, it's syndicated, so it's on at different times.
Right.
Throughout the country, but we're in about 100 markets, so usually the afternoon drive times.
That's great. So,
yeah.
So Ryan Seacrest has the mornings, and you've got the afternoons, huh?
There you go.
All right.
Fingers crossed, I'll keep it up.
I used to be very good friends with the king of radio out in L.A. is Rick Dees.
Oh, he's a great guy. I see Rick all the time.
Rick is so good. Please tell Rick I said hello.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
He's good, man. He's a good one. Thank you, Mario. Have a great day.
Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you. We'll be right back here in the National Defense. We'll be right back in the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and Pete Perez is back with us with another Morgan Stanley Money Brief. And this is so exciting about these FICO scores because I don't know anything about this. We talked about credit and the FICO credit score last week. Can we continue that discussion?
Sure. So, as I said last week, your willingness to lend me money depends on a couple of things. Mostly, what is my willingness and ability to pay you back? So the FICO score uses past behavior with credit to assess behavior on a scale in the future of, say, 300 to 850, with 850 being the best.
Right.
The score is intended to predict how I'm likely to behave with credit in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So how is your FICO score calculated?
So few people really understand it. Remember, the score is based on past behavior, but it tries to predict how you will act in the future.
Yeah, I get it, but what are the components of my FICO score?
So, but first, let's touch upon the three separate credit rating companies.
Yeah.
Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Each will have its own credit score on you, again, between 300 and 850. And generally, lenders tend to average all three into one composite score, again, ranging from 300 to 850.
I didn't know that. Can we get back to what makes up the FICO score?
Roger?
Randy.
No, Roger. As in yes. There are five components to your FICO score, right?
Right.
Payment history is most important. In other words, do you pay your bills on time?
Right.
That's 35%. The amount of money you owe or how much you've borrowed, that's 30% of your score. The length of credit history, in other words, like how long have you had credit open?
Right.
That's 15% of your score. New credit, think inquiries for new credit. It's about 10% of your score. And the types of credit, is it secured by your house or your car versus a credit card, which is unsecured? That's 10% of your score.
I mean, that is interesting, Pete. I've always wondered why my credit isn't a perfect 850 because I do pay my bills on time and don't owe a lot of money.
You know, you hit upon often the most overlooked aspect of your FICO score, and that's the remaining 35% of your score. The longer you have a credit card or a credit line or open loan, the older it is, right?
Right.
And the older it is, the more points you get.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Huh.
And of similar weighting and importance is the new credit component. This is where people generally are unaware of the impact credit inquiries can have.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so let's say you're on the internet, right?
Right.
And a mortgage ad pops up, and you fill out the online information to find out, how much you can borrow for a house or refinance, and on what interest rate you can borrow, right?
Right.
Depending on the site, if the info goes all the way through and you get back a rate, guess what? You just had a credit inquiry hit your FICO score.
Wow.
So do that a few times while shopping for an interest rate, and your credit rating can take a bit of a hit.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Big time. So generally speaking, you're best served avoiding online credit solicitations because you can never be sure.
That is so helpful. And now that we know how your credit score is calculated, we can avoid things that hurt the scores going forward. Hey, next week, can we talk about the impact of credit scores on what it costs to borrow?
Absolutely. I'll look forward to it.
Pete, thank you so much. We'll be back here next week with a new edition of the Morgan Stanley Money Brief right here on the National Defense.
This radio program does not provide individually tailored advice. It has been prepared without regard to the individual financial circumstances and objectives of persons who receive it. The strategies discussed may not be suitable for all individuals. Morgan Stanley recommends that individuals independently evaluate particular strategies and encourage them to seek the advice of a financial advisor. The appropriateness of a particular strategy will depend on individual circumstances and objectives. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and I got to tell you, this guest may be the most prolific author in all of America, maybe all the world. Guy's written 1,000 books. Right here in the National Defense, it's James Patterson. And his books have sold over 375 million copies worldwide. He holds the New York Times record for the most hardcover fiction best-selling books by any writer. And he is on the phone with us. James, how are you?
I'm good.
Hey,
how can I not be? This is great. I grew up in Newburgh, New York, and when I was a kid, Stewart Air Force Base, which is now a commercial base. But at that time, it was an Air Force base, active. And so I grew up, when I was in school, we had kids from the inner city in Newburgh, which is sort of a lot of African Americans and whites, and then from the farms, and then kids from Stewart Air Force Base. And a lot of them had been around the world, so it was a great mix.
Well, and I told you before we started the interview, I had no idea how much you've done for the military over the years. And in these book donations that you've done, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, we've given away a couple of million books.
A couple of million.
Also, yeah, school kids, and then around the world, Afghanistan, Iraq, Germany, even to guys overseas. One of the great things about that is sometimes we'll do different things that we think are a good thing for people, but we actually hear back from a lot of the soldiers, which is really terrific. I like to do as many good things as we can. One of the things right now, obviously, I got a new book out, which has some. It's about a woman in the Army, but one of the things I'm doing now is a nonfiction book. A friend of mine down here in Florida, Matt Eversman, he was a Ranger. He was involved in Ranger training for 6 or 7 years, but he was also in the remember Black Hawk Down?
Oh, yeah, sure.
He was the sergeant.
Oh, really?
Matt Eversman, yeah. And we're doing a book now, which we're about. We're going to do maybe 200 interviews of people who've been in combat. And the notion is, I don't know if it would be the concept. I don't know if it would be the title. Is Walk in My Combat Boots.
Oh, wow!
Which is trying to get people. Well, one, if you've been there, if you've been in the military, you go, yeah, these guys got it right. And if you haven't been, maybe people will finally start to understand what it is to be a soldier. Which I don't think a lot of people do.
What a great idea for a book. And you're right, though. We're talking to James Patterson here in the National Defense. And James, when you do venture into that territory, you do have to get it right, don't you?
Well, and we will get it right. I mean, insofar as people remember, what happened to them and whatever. But even if it's just their memories, I mean, the memories have some validity. And it's fascinating. We try to, how did you get in? How did that happen? What happened when you were over there? And then if you're back in civilian life, how does it feel now?
We had a general on the program, 3-star General Michael Ferreter on the program last week, and he was involved in the Black Hawk Down. So you tell your buddy that the general says hello.
All right.
That'd be great. So I want to ask, there's so many things I want to ask you, and number one, I can't even believe you have time to take a phone call, because you'll probably write 3 more books during the interview.
Well, I'm writing one now.
Now, is that true that you?
I can work the pencil.
You're right. Well, I was going to say, do you write all day, every day, using a number 2 pencil?
I do. I do write 7 days a week. I don't really work for a living. I play for a living. I love to do it. So it's not really work for me.
Well, Alex Cross does a lot of work. Does a ton of work.
Yeah, Alex is a very busy guy. And we visit Alex. We have 1 episode a year. Usually November, December, we come out with the Alex, and the new one is almost done.
Well, it's been 20 years since Alex Cross made his first appearance in Along Came a Spider.
I lose track, but that's about right.
Yeah, and is that your favorite character, or does it get to the point where you almost have?
There's a lot of I like Michael Bennett.
Yeah.
The Michael Bennett books. I do a lot of kids' books, which people don't know as well. But at Maximum Ride, she's another favorite character of mine. There's a series of the middle school. The first one was Middle School, the Worst Years of My Life, which they made into a movie. Cacciadori, and I like, yeah. So it's a real mix of things. I'm doing the Einstein Commission, or Einstein Estate came to me, and they said they'd like me to write a series to tell kids around the world about Albert Einstein and his theories. They said, but you got to make it, you got to make it fun. I'm going, okay, so I just have to write about Einstein and his theories and make it really
make it fun for a kid.
All right, okay.
Well, your books have such a wide variety of protagonists and their side characters. And in my view, I mean, that's part of the magic of your writing, because you just get drawn in into that. What is your secret to developing those kind of memorable personalities?
I don't know. I mean, I just sit down. Well, the first thing I'll do is just try to think of a story that if somebody was telling it, you told me a couple of lines about it, you'd say, oh, tell me some more.
Right.
And so that's always the start of it. And I just outline. And then when I'm writing, I pretend there's just one person sitting across from me, and I don't want them to get up till I'm finished.
Right.
So, pace is a big deal with me.
Sure.
Michael Connolly, who's a good mystery writer, he says what Jim does is every single chapter, every scene is designed to both move the plot forward and also move the characterization and let us know about that character more.
Well, and
the new book Cornwalls are going.
Yeah.
Kind of
I was just going to say, I mean, this thing, I just started this book, and I am already just totally involved. And your newest heroine here, Captain Amy Cornwall.
You want every book, I mean, to be as, fast-paced and really, grab you with the character, and it doesn't always happen. For me, you'd like it to happen every time, just like you'd like every episode of your favorite show to be great.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't work out. But with the Cornwalls are gone, it really did in terms of a really good character, and just action never, ever stops.
Yeah, and she's an Army intelligence officer, which I love.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And kind of
she comes home one day, and her husband and daughter are missing. And there is a note basically saying, you got 48 hours to do something for us, which they'll tell her what it is, and no police, no military, no FBI, or her daughter and her husband will be killed. So, it's kind of a grabby kind of thing. But what's great about it is, the way she handles, the way she tracks them down, the way she, and she's very good at her job. She's very good at intelligence, and she really uses it. And if your family is involved, boy, you're really giving 100%.
And the thing I love about this character is the thing that we always talk about on this show so much, that you cannot find a more resourceful individual than someone in the military. I mean, their lives absolutely depend on it, and that's why they make, when they transition back.
That's what she does, and and she lives that, and this is the real acid test because it involves her family. But going back to the nonfiction thing that we're doing, we've done, as I said, a lot of interviews already, and one of the to the point you were making, one of the things that comes up again and again and again is people when they're in the Army, especially when they get over into combat zone, they've been trained, and they're not everyone, but most of these people are really given 100%.
Right.
They have to. I mean, their lives to some extent, or and the lives of the people around them, and the camaraderie is incredible for most of the people. And then they come out into the civilian world, and all of a sudden somebody's saying, like, give 50%, and it's very difficult for people to go from, the camaraderie and I'm giving it everything I have to no, don't, and to the point where other people would say, what are you trying to show us up?
Right.
Right.
Stop showing off.
Stinks.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bad way to run. Most businesses should run a lot more like the military runs, in my opinion.
Well, and most businesses should hire many more veterans than they do, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's
absolutely.
And that's the thing that people are finding out. Home Depot is a great partner with us on the program. They've committed $500 million to veterans through the year 2020. And one of the things they're doing is they're doing such smart things with the money. They partner with some great people and some great organizations, but then they've also started now this trade school situation where they take transitioning veterans and they put them in trade school for 12 weeks and they learn a brand new career.
I can't believe that isn't happening more around
right.
I can't believe it hasn't been going on in Detroit for 20 years.
Yeah.
Why they haven't invested in, and I'm sure they do a little bit, but really invested in trade schools in Detroit to create a loyal, even better trained workforce than they've had. I don't understand.
Now, what do you know about Detroit? My my co-host, who is on assignment, he is from Detroit. You're not from Detroit, are you?
No, I'm not. But I was in advertising for a while. I've been clean for over 20 years. But we had the Ford account, so I used to go out to Detroit quite a lot.
Yeah. That's funny. We're talking to James Patterson here on the National Defense. The new book is The Cornwalls Are Gone. That is available now. Just another in a very successful career. James, who is your favorite novelist?
Oh, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy. No, I like a lot of the mystery novels. I mentioned Michael Connelly and Nelson DeMille. I like a lot. I like the Jack Reacher books, Lee Child. I read a lot. I read a lot of kids stuff because I write kids books, so I'll read that. The Book Thief, I think, is a particularly great YA novel. James Joyce getting more serious about stuff. I like James Joyce. The Matterhorn was, I thought, one of the best books I ever read about serving overseas. So that was spectacular.
Well, we talked about what you're doing for the military and your other philanthropy efforts. You donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to support these independent bookshops in the UK and Ireland, right?
Oh, well, and more in the U.S. I mean, we do a lot. We've got scholarships for 450 teachers in colleges around the country. 31. I have a thing with Scholastic where we, a lot of teachers, have to buy the books for their classroom libraries. So we go with Scholastic every year. We put up several $1 million, really, and we reach out and say if you're doing your own classroom library, just let us know. And last year we had 82,000 requests for help. Man. And we met 18,000 of them, so 18,000 we went in. And,
that's incredible.
And did the class. So we do. You do what you can. It's the way I was brought up. If you can, if you can help, we help. We try.
Well, now I know you teamed up with President Bill Clinton.
President Clinton,
right?
Yeah, I'm with all the presidents, man. I've golfed with President Clinton. I've golfed with President Trump, and I've golfed with both of the Bushes. So
And who's got the lowest handicap?
Hacker. Yeah. I know them all. I mean, a little bit. And actually, Mar-a-Lago is about a third of a mile from where I am in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Down the street.
That's cool.
I do see the president and, Eric in particular, his son. The Clintons, obviously, we had a terrific run with the novel we did. It went to a couple of bases. The one outside of Seattle and then the one outside of Washington where the Joint Chiefs stay. And that was cool.
James, listen, thank you so much for your time. How many books have you written during the interview?
I have no idea. But the Cornwalls Are Gone is cool. It's a fun one. And if people like what I do.
Oh, my gosh.
If you haven't read any, it's a good place to start.
These better be available at every base. The Cornwalls Are Gone.
I suspect they pretty much are.
Yeah, I'll bet they are. James, thank you so much, man.
This is great. It was so much. It's fun talking to you. And maybe when we get the combat boots, we'll.
Yes, absolutely.
Come on and
I'd love that.
Shoot the breeze. Yeah. He's a great guy. Such a funny thing. I mean, he's an Army Ranger school for 7 years, and my assistant, she hadn't met Matt, but she talks to him on the phone. She goes, she's telling me he's the nicest man I've ever spoken to in my life. You think about a guy, basically being sergeant major at Army Rangers.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. He must be able to be a little tough when he needs to be.
Yeah, but that can come out at any time, I think.
Yeah. All right. Be good.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you. We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and time now for another edition of Eye Insights with VSP. And Dr. Jim Winnik is back with us. Dr. Winnik, how are you?
Great, and it's wonderful to be back, Randy.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just to kind of remind people about Dr. Winnik, Did his undergraduate work at Cornell. Got his doctorate degree at the State University of New York. You were in Portland. It sounds like me. You've been about everywhere. You went to California, and then you moved to the Bay Area, where you were a partner in a large multi-doctor practice for 14 years. And then, being horse people, you and your wife relocated to the Central Valley at Oakdale, where you still see patients in a private practice, right?
That's true, yes.
Yeah, you know what? And it's never a bad thing, because I have horses too. It's never a bad thing to have an eye doctor around when you have horses. I mean,
yeah, things happen.
Yeah, they do all the time. Well, Dr. Winnik, this month, March, is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. And, you don't hear as much about that. I know when I was a kid, you heard about MS all the time. And I just don't hear about it as much. Can you let's get into that a little bit and tell me what multiple sclerosis is.
Well, Randy, unfortunately, better known as MS still does exist. And if you know anybody that has it, it can be a very devastating disease. It's a neurological disease that affects our central nervous system. And really, it's an autoimmune problem where the body's own immune system creates inflammation that attacks the myelin that's around the optic nerves, or around not just the optic nerve, but all nerves in our body.
Oh, wow.
And myelin is like the insulation. If you think of insulation on an electrical wire, myelin is the insulation on our nerves in our bodies. And if you lose that insulation, it slows down or stops the signals going down those nerves.
Sure. And what are some of the symptoms of MS?
Well, again, it's going to resolve around nerve function. And for us as eye doctors, that's included with the optic nerve, which is one of the larger cranial nerves in the body. So vision problems are actually pretty common and can be some of the first signs of the disease.
Oh.
Color vision can be affected with especially the red hues of color. Night vision can become particularly difficult. Sensitivity to contrast or presence of blind spots in your vision. And in advanced cases, it actually might become painful upon eye movement.
Well, that answers one of my questions, that an eye exam could detect multiple sclerosis, right?
Unfortunately, yes. And again, we've talked in previous shows that if you're not getting regular health care, but you're coming in to see your eye doctor for vision care, we pick up on many of these systemic diseases primarily because you're not seeing your regular doctor as much as you should.
And the good news about MS is that it can be managed. I've got a good buddy of mine, when I was doing country radio, a singer by the name of Clay Walker that has MS and has it under control and is actually, still performing and doing his thing. So that's the good news. And Dr. Winnik, for those who haven't heard, can you talk about VSP's news for our listeners? Yeah,
VSP has some pretty exciting news that it's currently a vision carrier for hundreds of thousands of federal employees through the Federal Employee Dental and Vision Insurance Program, or what most people know as the FedVIP program. And that's great news because certain retired members of uniformed services and their families, as well as most family members of active duty servicemen and women, can now access comprehensive vision care through the FedVIP. So you can go to choosevsp.com and review the VSP plan options and learn why you should enroll.
Fantastic. Dr. Winnik, thanks again for coming on the program.
I appreciate it, Randy.
Hey, brand new edition of Eye Insights with VSP next week, right here on the National Defense.
This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With a weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.